Yeah, KSKQ, live Johnny Winter. With Bobby Caldwell on the drums here at the Latitude 42 radio show. And joining us on the phones from Florida, it's none other than the famous drummer himself, Bobby Caldwell. Thanks, Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
Hello there. How are you?
Good. I hear you're having a storm in Florida.
Well, it's been pretty bad. It's threatening.
What part of Florida are you in?
The central part.
Okay.
The Orlando area. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been there many times. Thanks for calling in today. Like I told you off the air, we are big fans of a lot of your work. We just did some Johnny Winter, and we did some Rick Derringer earlier, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And can I ask you, what is like a guy like you that's had such a varied career with all of the stuff you've done? Do you have like one particular band or experience that's your favorite part of your career?
Well, all of them, because they're all with different people, there's always aspects of it that are more, that you enjoy. I don't know that you can say that there's one greater than the other, because I had fun. I've had fun in all of them, which is important to do. So.
Yeah. It's interesting, too. I'm a big fan of the Yardbirds, and I've been dying to ask, with the band Armageddon, how did you hook up with Keith Relf, and how was that experience for you?
Well, that is one of my favorite moments. What happened was Keith had come to L.A., and I happened to run into him one night, and I said, well, what are you doing here and all this business? And he said, well, I'm putting a new band together, and he said, we're sort of, looking for a drummer. And I said something like, well, I just happen to, I might know one. But it was in a club, and so I think we ended up just, saying, well, here's where you can find me, or, what, that kind of thing. And that's how it started. He we didn't speak for a couple of weeks, and I thought, oh, well, that one's gone. And then he called me, and I happened to be recovering from a very bad case of the flu, but invited him over. I was on the tail end of it, and I said, well, you're welcome to come over. We can talk a bit, And so that's how it started with Armageddon. There's more to it, but that's how it started.
Nice.
And one of my personal favorite. Gosh, you played with so many. You played with the Allman Brothers, but Cactus was something that I wanted to ask about. I'm a fan of Cactus. A lot of people, don't know who Cactus is, and which shocks me because they're one of, I think, the best hard rock bands around of that era ever. Can you explain just briefly how that kind of came about? How you?
Well, yeah. What happened was it wasn't very long. It was maybe 6 months, and they were going through some changes, and I think Tim and Carmine were sort of fishing around for something else to do, and I think Jeff Beck had been talking to him a little bit, and but with no, there wasn't anything really definite. And the first time that I heard Cactus was when they opened for Johnny Winter and in Detroit.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidence?
God, what a great bill that would have been.
Yeah, it actually was a rather a coincidence. But this would have been a year earlier, maybe 2 years, something earlier.
And this was before
And
you
that
had
was the
played
first
with
time.
either band.
Yeah, that was the first some I'd actually, say, oh, this is who Cactus is, and they were trying to get, trying to break through, and so they were on the show, and then then a couple of years later, I, started getting to, know them a bit better.
Yeah, Carmen Apis, what a great drummer too.
Yeah, the whole band was, but they kind of, it's a tricky thing, Derek, because you can find yourselves in this business sort of flying under the radar to no fault of your own. I mean, you can't figure out why these people down the street here, happen to be doing such and such and such, and yet these people over here, really don't even know you're alive. And it's an odd type of energy about the music business, how that happens.
Right.
So Cactus due to probably a number of things, just because you brought them up, didn't really ever break through because they didn't have any real big, I call them radio records.
Yeah.
And but there's other factors involved. A lot of the stuff that I was alluding to just that are unknown. You just can't explain why.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just not in the cards. I guess.
That's right. I mean, people doesn't mean that people don't respect you and appreciate what you do, but it never quite goes where you hoped it would.
Well, a lot of times it's and I hate it, but it's not got a lot sometimes to do with talent. It's got a lot to do with being in the right place at the right time, or running into the right person, or having the right connection.
That's right.
And it's unfortunate because a lot of bands have stayed in the basement over the years that probably were, better than a lot of bands who made it.
No, kidding. What?
I was just saying that a lot of bands probably stayed in the basement that should have been on the stage. We're better than some bands that made it on the radio.
Yeah, it's a road, littered with casualties, and that's how the business is.
Can I ask you this? Am I wrong when I say that probably the most famous song that you're on is probably Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo?
Well, that would be the most famous radio record that I'm on.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
What a big hit, though. What a great classic rock and roll song that is,
Well, Johnny, sang that first.
I did know that, yes.
But Johnny hated the song.
Did he?
And he didn't like the lyrics. He didn't this and that. But he did a great job of singing it and playing it. I thought it was a completely different take on it than Rick and I. And then when Rick asked me to do it, we ended up going to Colorado to do it at Caribou Ranch, and there was that whole everything you hear. The only people in there was Rick and I and Bill Simzik, the engineer.
Wow.
Who worked with the Eagles all those years. That's all it was in there. There was no full band. There was no there was nobody there but us.
Did you have any idea that was going to be such a legendary song?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We just, it's funny that she was just asking me about Cactus because I was just playing in Cactus the night before in Jacksonville, Florida, at the Jacksonville Coliseum, and I flew to Denver, so I said, okay, Rick, so the drums were set up and his guitar was set up, and I said, well, what do you want to play? So, we started, going through a number of songs, and the one of them was Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, but we decided to do it different than what it had been previously done.
Right.
That's exactly what you hear, now when you hear it.
So great. I'm a huge fan of Johnny Winter. Like, I love pretty much everything he's ever done, especially the stuff that you did with him. And then, some of his Alligator Record stuff later. But what was it like working with Johnny? I know this is a generic question, but what was it like working with him?
Absolutely fantastic. Johnny was, and you're not going to believe this, just the other day, Edgar called me.
Wow.
And we had a long conversation about Johnny. So I'll continue some of this with you.
Thank you.
Johnny was just a staggering talent, and a great singer. And I want to emphasize this to all of your listeners because people know him as, a great blues guitarist, which he was.
Right.
But if you listen to his singing, there's one particular track on the Johnny Winter and album called No Time to Live. It's an old Stevie Winwood song. It's called No Time to Live.
Okay.
And Johnny does a absolutely spectacular performance on the vocal. And he was a great singer. I mean, so much more than all that growling and let's rock and roll, he could really sing great. In fact, Edgar told me, we were talking about this, and he told me that when they were younger, Johnny, they would work up Roy Orbison songs. And he said that Johnny could sing all of those early Roy Orbison songs almost as good as Roy did.
Wow.
So that's saying a lot. And
it sure
is. It was fabulous. I mean, we, the story how I joined that band as a whole, I mean, it was supposed to be, I'll paraphrase it very shortly. It was supposed to be a jam, quote unquote, session, right?
Yeah.
And this chap that was working for me in a band I was in Florida kept calling me in the afternoon saying, hey, would you like to come over and jam with Johnny and this, that, and the other? And I said, no, not really. And so this went on for about 20 minutes. We were on the phone talking like we are talking. And he would say, well, aren't you sure? Won't you just come over for a few minutes? And I'd say, no, I'm not interested. Finally, the last time there, he asked me again. And something said, all right, I'll come over.
Wow.
So I drove over where they were, probably 10 minutes from where I lived. And there was, many people milling about out front. It was a proper residence of this other local band's parents' house.
Yeah.
So they're all inside. You can hear everything, blaring through the windows and stuff. And it was very hot. And people were coming in and out, And I kept saying to my friend Dave, I said, when's it going to be? Are we going to start or what's going to happen? Oh, yeah, it'll be any minute. Well, this just kept going on and on. And I remember saying to him, listen, about, an hour later or something, I said, Dave, is this going to happen or not? Because I said, I'm getting out of here. And he came back about 5-10 minutes later and said, okay, they're ready for you. And I walked into that living room of these people, and there was standing Johnny, Edgar, Rick, Teddy Slatus, the tour manager, Steve Paul, the manager, several road crew people, and there might have been one other person. And there was this drum set up that they had. And by this point, I was very frustrated. I was hot. I'd been standing around, so I wanted to just, let's get it on and get over with,
Yeah.
So, and I knew how big Johnny was at that moment. I wasn't, naive to how well known he already was.
Yeah.
But that just wasn't enough for me. Even at 19, I thought, oh, well. So I sit down and I start playing this pretty intense pattern. And they all joined in. Everybody joined in. And so we're all just playing along and having fun, and we're playing along, and we go from one thing, and we go through this one part of a song, and then we move into a slow blues, and then we move into this, and we do all this. So we played for about 35 or 40 minutes, and all of a sudden it came to this crashing halt. And Johnny says, travel?" And I said, "Yeah." He didn't know that I had been going up to New York for the last 3 years trying to get arrested, which I nearly accomplished, by the way. And so he says, "I want you to be in my band." And Edgar was standing about 3 feet behind him, and he says, "I want you to be in my band."
Man.
What? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Decisions.
That's exactly how it happened. And I went with Johnny because I thought it was where I needed to be, as great as I knew Edgar was, and I knew how good he was as a musician. I thought I wanted to be more identified, in the sort of guitar, bass, drums, idiom, and so that's how it happened.
I'm so glad you did.
It was never a jam session, ever. It was the whole thing was an audition.
Yeah, I tell you.
For me, but all the people walking in and out.
I got a copy of the Johnny Winter and recording on vinyl and a brand new copy on CD recently. That's how much I love that album,
Yeah. And I'll just because you're a big fan of that, I'll just tell you one more small anecdote. Jumpin' Jack Flash was pure accidental.
Really?
What happened was, I'll tell you what happened. We lived on a farm in upstate New York. And we were, we would go down to this sort of central room or a barn or someplace where we could practice. And you're out in the country, so nobody could hear you, And we would go down there and we'd play, and we'd get ready to go out on the road, and we'd rehearse and decide what we're doing or whatever. And one day, because Johnny would listen to the radio all the time and listen to different people, so he knew what was going on. So he started off Jumpin' Jack Flash in rehearsal. None of us knew the song. No, other than hearing it on the radio, we didn't know what it was. And so we played through it, or stumbled through it, or kicked it around, or whatever we did with it. And we stopped. And about a month later, we were out rehearsing again, and we'd come back from someplace, and we went up to the country, and we were at the house, and go downstairs to play, and Johnny happens to play it again. So at some point, just because it's fun. He wants to, let's do a Rolling Stones
just
song.
kind of jamming, yeah.
Yeah, let's do an early Rolling Stones songs. I love those. Okay, fine. Let's do Give Me Shelter, or whatever it is. So one night we're in Germany. The place is sold out. This enormous convention center of some type. And we come out, we go off stage, and we come back for the encore. And all of a sudden, without any warning, Johnny starts playing Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Wow.
And Rick looked at me. I looked back at him. I looked over at Randy. And we all three were going, "Oh, man, what is happening now?"
Oh, boy.
And that was it. And we played right through it. You would have thought we'd been playing it for 2 years straight.
What a great story.
Through it, and that's how that ended up on that album.
That is so cool. Pardon me as I do a station ID real quick, Bobby.
Okay.
You're listening to KSKQ 89.5 FM Ashland, Oregon, and KSKQ Translator K231 CW 94.1 FM Medford, Oregon. You are listening to an interview with legendary rock drummer Bobby Caldwell, and you're at the Latitude 42 radio show. Bobby, thanks again for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so happy to have you. We only have about 5 more minutes. I wanted to ask about your time hanging out with Rod Evans when you guys did the Captain Beyond band, which we love. I know Rod kind of disappeared and became sort of reclusive in about 1980. Do you still keep in touch with him?
I do. We speak every now and again.
And he was...
Captain Beyond is reformed and is out there playing. In fact, we may be coming down the West Coast at some point here in the not too distant future.
Oh, wow.
I hope that we get to see you all.
So
Beyond had a real big send-off. We played, there's an album out now called Lost and Found, okay? It came out last year. And it's got the original demo that we recorded and we're taking around to record companies. But it's a different version slightly, nothing always is the same. And it's what we played for Dwayne and Greg when the Allman Brothers were in L.A.
Wow.
Now, this had to have been, it couldn't have been more than 3 weeks before Dwayne's accident.
Wow.
And we played this for Greg and them, and they were just floored by it. And so Dwayne says, I've got to call Phil Walden. I got to call Phil. You've got to sign with Capricorn. You've got to go with Phil. Well, this is just, and that's how Captain Beyond, the short version, how we signed with Capricorn, really wasn't, as much as I love Dwayne and Greg, it really was, the label wasn't really right for Captain Beyond. We needed to be with a bit more adventurous.
Yeah, because they had more of like the Southern rock kind of market, on Capricorn. It seemed like Marshall Tucker and
Yeah, well at that time they didn't have too many people, but Captain Beyond was sort of like these aren't my words. It was sort of like this super group for people to put a handle on it. And
well, is Rod Evans still a part of the reformed Captain Beyond?
No, Rod's retired.
Okay, because for those that don't know, Rod Evans was the original Deep Purple vocalist.
That's correct.
Pretty interesting.
Correct. When you hear Hush and Kentucky Woman, and Rod's a tremendous talent.
So good.
But he, like you said, he got out of the music business about 1981 and moved to upstate California and lives in Northern California and became a respiratory therapist.
So just to wind that part up about Captain Beyond, we're talking, it started out with, Rod from Deep Purple, having been with Johnny Winter, guitarist from Iron Butterfly, the bass player from Iron Butterfly, just an all-star lineup that came together for Captain Beyond.
Yeah, and when Rhino and Lee Dorman, God bless them both, approached me, I had known Rhino years earlier in Florida. I didn't see him all the time. Just now and again, you'd cross paths with him somewhere. And I knew Lee a little bit, and they were telling me about this band that they wanted to put together. And I was still playing with Johnny Winter and. Now remember, for everybody historically, that Johnny Winter and at that moment was one of the 10 or 12 biggest grossing acts in the world, bar none.
Beautiful.
There wasn't anybody bigger. I'm not talking about selling records. I'm talking about concerts.
Live shows, yeah.
Every single thing was a sellout. Every night,
kind of a big decision to change that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that maybe, because Johnny had hinted, well, we may take some time off. So when I got out there anyway to L.A. to check it out, Johnny had taken some time off, so the timing was right. But I told Rhino and I said, I'm not going to be in a blues band, so you can forget that. If you don't want me, if that's what you want to do. I said, if you want to do some experimental music that's different, and let's see what we can create. I'm your man. So that's how we got started on all that, and all of the Captain Beyond music, the music. Rod and Rhino and I wrote all the music.
Such great stuff too, man. We play the stuff from the Dancing Madly Backwards album a lot on this show.
We do. We play it a lot. We do. We love Captain Beyond and Cactus. Like I said, we play those regularly on our show on Sunday nights. So
yeah, we don't really have a lot of time left. Man, I wish we did, because it's such an interesting interview. All the stories you've shared are just really great. I appreciate it so much.
Is there a chance that we could perhaps get a hold of you in the future and do a longer, when we have more time to do a longer interview?
Absolutely. Not a problem at all.
I have questions about John Lennon and Eric Clapton, and I have all kinds of questions about this, just the stuff that you're doing now, and we could go on all day.
Here's what we could do: if you just compile a whole bunch of things you want to do, and then you could send me, Derek, an email, and maybe in a few weeks or whatever is convenient, 6 weeks, whatever you want to do. We can just reschedule it again, and we'll do part 2.
That would be tremendous.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'll just wait for you to contact me, and
Perfect.
tell me what times or when you're looking at doing it, and we'll try to keep it real, simple. So now that we know each other, I'll just respond and say, hey, how about this time?
Awesome. Well, thanks.
And we'll do it.
Thanks for your hospitality. Thanks for the great rock stories. And most of all, thanks for that great music that you've shared with us through all these decades, man.
Yeah, we really do appreciate
it.
it.
God bless the both of you. And
Yeah.
It's been a delight talking to you.
Yeah, for sure. It's our pleasure. God bless you as well. We're going to go ahead and roll into Johnny Winter with No Time to Live. Once again, thanks to the legendary and the awesome and hospitable Bobby Caldwell. Make some noise. Yay!
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Okay, thanks, Bobby. Have a happy summer solstice to you.
You too. Check this vocal out.
I will, right now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.